Okay.
Very good. We're now live again, and
Thank you.
we are in the EDC meeting, Economic Development Committee. Maria, would you take the roll call, please?
Sure. Jerry Boyeg,
Yes.
James Ellis,
Here.
Stephen Ehrman,
Here.
Madeline Fleury,
Here.
Archie McKee,
Here.
Daniel Mills,
Here.
Nate Manat,
Here.
also present Jeremy Evans, Maria Bourgeois, Paul Ellis, Trevor Buchanan, Justice Martin, and Kelly Brunette.
Thank you, Maria. You've all received a copy of the agendas in the email. Are there any additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda for the EDC meeting? If not, we'll accept the motion to accept the agenda as is. Steve, second?
I'll second.
Madeline? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The agenda is adopted as written. Public comment. There being none, we'll move on to number 4, the approval of previous meeting minutes. Again, copies of which you've received in your email. Additions, subtractions, changes to the minutes of the previous meeting of June 14th. Hearing none, we'll assume that the motion will be on the table. May I have a motion, please, to accept the minutes of the meeting of June 14th?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Madeline, second.
I'll second.
Second by Nate. Any discussion? If not, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Very good. Committee reports. Governance,
Same as what I reported in the last.
very good. Audit and finance. Archie,
None from me, thank you.
okay. Agriculture, Sherry,
Nothing for me either.
very good. Economic development,
Nothing further.
very good. Loan committee,
Nothing to report.
nothing to report. Downtown revitalization and entrepreneurship. Any report? We'll now move on to the treasurer's report. Paul?
So as I mentioned before, with the conversion of QuickBooks Online, attempted twice to bring the file over from our desktop version to the online version and ran into a glitch. Part of the double check that QuickBooks does is they compare the desktop balance to the balance that came over in the QuickBooks Online. And for whatever reason, and it's going to take a little bit of time to track it down, there appears to be a glitch that actually goes back to a credit card issue of how we were accounting for Jeremy's credit card a few years ago, and it had gone unreconciled for some time. And although it's now been reconciled, there's still some kind of glitch in the system that is now, even though Jeremy's credit card balance is 0, according to our desktop version, the online version is showing like $19,000 owed on it. So I just got to figure out how we're going to correct that. I certainly could just still bring the file over and correct it in QuickBooks Online, but I just as soon keep it in the old data file and wait until I can get that all cleaned up and then bring over a clean copy. I don't think it's going to take much more than a few weeks to get it all resolved. So pretty much I'm going to keep the same format for the reports. The reports that you have today are the ones out of the desktop version. The online version, the reports are a little bit cleaner. The columns are a little bit better, keeping straight. So there is some improvements there. In addition, with the QuickBooks Online, we were able to do this on the desktop version, but we're able to attach files easier in the online version. And so, for instance, if I, like for instance, on a T-bill, when I posted the entry for the purchase of the T-bill, I get a print off from Treasury Direct that shows all the information, and I can attach it. So that way, when the auditor wants to look at any of the historical information that makes up a journal entry, they'll have that information at their fingertips.
Which we provide now, kind of during the audit period. So
Yeah,
over time.
Yeah,
it'll
but
be-
that's not going to change. There's always going to be a necessity, just due to the volume of records that the board or the auditors need to see. You know, it's
Still gonna be that.
It's still going to be that, because there's just, I mean, if we want to hire somebody full time to be scanning documents in, but you know, over time, I think more and more will get added to the QuickBooks, which will only make sure that we're completely entrenched in paying QuickBooks from now to the end of time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I got you at the hook.
oh yeah. The one, I was trying to go with the least cost version, and this is where they charge extra. There's something which is called class accounting, which allows you to do sub-accounts. And when I signed up, I went with the cheaper version to save money. And then we found out that you can't use class accounting, plus you can't use budgeting. So we had to purchase the next larger expensive module. But it's not the Cadillac, it's, you know, it's,
It's a well-appointed Chevrolet.
If I can just point out, one of the things, hopefully you've noticed in both IDA and EDC, which I really appreciate the work that Paul's been doing, is being able to provide you a month-to-month budget. That's only useful if the information month to month is accurate. Otherwise, it's pointless. It can send you off on useless tangents. So a lot of work has gone in over the last few months in order to be able to present to you a budget that's fairly accurate month to month, instead of just an annual, just a snapshot for just this month. So I really appreciate it, but I did want to point out how much work goes into getting it to be accurate for you.
the month to month and the year to year, mostly the year to year comparisons are going to be more meaningful next year, because we're now doing full accrual accounting. So that means like our insurance bill is divided out by 12 months. And that isn't what we did in 2022. The auditor had to make some adjustments, and basically it all showed up in either January or December. And so when we do a year-to-year comparison, you're really not comparing against an accurate figure from 2022. But since we're now doing full accrual accounting this year, when we move into 2024, you'll be able to see a much better, more meaningful comparison on the year-to-year basis. The other thing I do want to point out is, again, this is part of the reconciliation process. We did have one check that was supposed to be a loan to one of our clients, and it did get coded wrong. I've already corrected it in QuickBooks, but I didn't discover it quick enough to adjust today's QuickBooks reports. So that will show up in next month's report.
And it's still satisfactory if I'm understanding the loan report.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And I think I don't know if it's we do have the loans for one of the clients. Can we use their?
Yeah.
Yeah, Black Mountain. Yeah, the
Okay.
the
That was
loan,
explained on
the
the-
loan and the bridge loan,
Yeah.
that's going to get dispersed on Friday. So
Great. Okay, Paul, thank you. Thank you. Marketing update.
You want to do motion
Oh, treasurer's
for the
report.
treasurer's report.
Thank you very much. Oh, thanks for keeping me on track here.
Well, if I didn't do it, Maria was about to. I was trying to beat Maria
Ready.
to the punch.
I was ready.
So I won for once.
All right, you guys, you're dealing with an old man here. Leave me alone. Motion to accept the treasurer's report as given by Paul.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Madeline, second.
Jerry.
All those in favor of adopting the treasurer's report as given by Paul, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Treasurer's report is adopted. CEO report. Jerry.
I have just 2 items for CEO report. I'll pass this out just for a visual, and I can send it to the rest of the board if we haven't already. But 2 items. One you've heard about, Energize Uptown in Tupper Lake. We've had a couple things on the agenda getting this program ready, and it is officially launched. And so we've been doing a lot of different outreach to prospective business and property owners within the DRI boundary in Tupper Lake to let them know that this funding opportunity is available. And been a lot of work by the village staff and the mayor, and also Kelly and especially Rachel to get this all ready. So we've got a really good outreach plan that's in the works, and part of that outreach plan is this flyer that is showing up on social media, and which is also being handed out by village staff and Rachel in person. In fact, Rachel is in Tupper Lake today. She was there on Monday, just going door to door and letting people know about the program. So a lot of work goes in before the public even ever sees these things. And we've been trying to apply everything we've been learning from previous projects so that this one can go even more smoothly. So just wanted to give a shout out to Rachel and Kelly for all the work they've been putting into this one. And then second is just that last or 2 weeks ago was Russ's last day, and just thought I would just express my appreciation for everything that he contributed to us in Franklin County. A few of us took him to lunch before he left, had a good time, and he's around and still committed to the area, and is looking at a few different options that will allow him to use his expertise on behalf of Franklin County and the area. So really excited for him, but I just wanted to publicly thank him for everything he contributed to what we do.
Great.
So
Thank you. Well done.
that's my report.
Thanks, sir.
One question. For the meetings that are coming up, Jeremy, on the 19th and the 27th, do you want members of the review committee at those outreach meetings?
It would be optional. Yeah, it's up to you. Yeah, if you thought it'd be helpful, so you could kind of see some of the things that people ask, by all means. But I wouldn't go to both.
Okay.
It's more just so you
One or
can.
the other?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And the first one's in person. The second one is virtual.
Okay.
And we are requiring prospective applicants to attend at least one of them so that they can get the basics. Because they really put them behind in their how competitive they will be if they don't get that upfront information.
In that first meeting we had, by the way, the review committee, Rachel was right on it, and she was very well. So it's good to see.
Just a suggestion. Now that we're going to have people, like Rachel as an example, going door to door or knocking on doors, I think we ought to try to focus on what other services or what other programs we can talk to people about. There's at least 2 eating places that I think would be best served by businesses in transition. We really need to get on that, because, this time of the year, if I lost a restaurant in Tupper Lake, excuse the expression, we're screwed. even though we have two great dining places, the new one, the Woodshed on Park, up on Upper Park Street above the high school, and Amato's, who is one of our clients. I think they're good. People still want to be able to get up and go to a diner for breakfast and to a diner for lunch, if that's what they want. So I really think we ought to take a look at that. And if there's any on the ground advice that I can give to Rachel, I'd be glad to give it to her.
Well, certainly let me know who those two establishments
Oh,
are,
we go offline.
and we will, yes.
Because it
And
has to be confidential.
yes, we'll make contact with them, and
Very good.
and what we do is, we may not have anything specific that we can do to help,
But we
but
can pass them on to.
we can pass them on
That's
to
right.
somebody else, make a connection.
Yeah. And I think that's part of what I see as our full service opportunities for rural areas like ours. You gotta have a bunch of bows, a bunch of arrows in your quiver.
Right.
And it really, really means a lot to business owners, especially everyone up here struggles, as you know. They work like crazy during the summer, but 3 or 4 months doesn't carry you for the rest of the year.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, happy to do it.
and by the way, we are initiating train service from Tupper Lake this coming Sunday. So if anybody's interested, and I say this, Trevor may want to even put that on in the paper. This is going to be the first train in history that ever originated from Tupper Lake. Other times it was the Adirondack Division, New York Central, later on Penn Central, but this will be the first time that a train originates from Tupper Lake. And Trevor, if you have anybody down there that does work for you or you share with, please feel free to get in touch with them or get in touch with me and see if there's
Yeah.
anything we can do to let you know.
I
what's
will
going
let
on.
Rich know because he still has pretty close contact with the editor of the Free Press over there.
That's right. Good. Good. And, we'll try to, actually, what I'm working on right now is to try to get a ride for all the members of the press and the media out of Tupper Lake to a trip down to Sabatis. We're already laying plans for next year's complete solar eclipse. And it'll be the next one for Tupper Lake is probably going to be somewhere in 21 something or other, 22 something or other, 24. Sorry. You can see how far behind I am. But anyway, very exciting about it. This will be in April, and we're making some plans already. So, moving on to new business, resolution number 2023-21.
We'll go back to marketing update.
Oh, sorry.
Before we get to that.
Yeah, but
Okay,
I'm
so,
assuming,
right.
I didn't know that there was more.
Oh, okay. No, it's just,
Marketing
yeah,
update.
so we've asked, Kelly and I have been wanting to provide the board an update. This is going to be 2 parts. So we're going to, Kelly's going to go over some
Jim,
stuff
you teed
today.
us right up for the first one, so
Yes.
that's good, yeah.
Thank you.
So let me share my screen because Kelly's got a short presentation to share. So can
Well,
everybody
we
see
can just
that?
go through it pretty quickly, so I don't want to get into the weeds of it, but of course, if anyone wants to know more information, they're welcome to reach out to me and I can provide them with numbers and details. So just an update on marketing communications, and I'm really just going to talk about from January till the end of June, what we've been up to, and more recently, 2 of the more recent projects we've been working on. So I think we all understand why we need marketing and communication, but I'll just restate it so you all know that I know, and we're on the same page, right? We need to increase the awareness of the county, of the region, attract, retain businesses, people, just as you were saying, Jim. It's what we're here for and the cornerstone of what will make our community successful. All right. Promote and provide information. So that's pretty much the marketing and communications aspect about the assets we have, the attributes, and the opportunities available. All right, so just to walk through one such example, I thought maybe it would be helpful if I kind of just dissected sort of the whole process that goes into one of these marketing campaigns that we do. So Main Street program, that was something internally we identified as sort of just a program we wanted to initiate. I don't know if it originated with you, Jeremy, or from the board's feedback, or working with Rachel. So it was the idea of creating the Main Street program. So it is sort of that clearinghouse, a funnel. Like you were saying, Jim, business owners have a hard enough time keeping track of their business, let alone all the resources that are out there. So instead of making it confusing for people, like who do I contact and about what and what grants are available, if we just package it as the Main Street program and just, that's all they need to know to reach out to us, and then we can help them from there.
Great.
So in doing that, we want to come up with 4 parts, really, what that message is, what the context we're going to use, imagery, branding it, and the placement of where we are going to kind of get the word out about the Main Street program. So internally, and this takes some finessing and a lot of conversations to come down to sort of what the goal is and what the mission is, and to get it into a succinct description as we can. And so that's what you'll see on the left, that it is part of FCEDC's mission to empower urban cores with the necessary tools and resources. And we do want to highlight that there are 4 types of support that we can provide: the technical assistance, financial support, strategic planning support, and assistance in the art of placemaking. To kind of, again, build the awareness that we do more than just give loans. So financial support is one piece of it, but there's other components that we're able to work with the business community on. And then we kind of flush it out a little bit further to, like, what are some more punchy, catchy taglines that we can use in press releases and social media, and just kind of play around with those and see what resonates with people. Unlocking, unleashing, anything that has to do with economic potential, people tend to gravitate well towards that. So this was sort of our messaging for the Main Street program. Then we get into the imagery, and over the past year, we have contracted with a photographer that has gone around to main streets, businesses throughout the county. And usually we cultivate this list based on, businesses that we assist, but also areas of the county that have potential, and so top left is Tupper Lake Arts. We've assisted and worked with them. Middle right is ArtRise, we've assisted, and then throughout. So it's just, just a good, true representation and visual assets that we have that we're able to pull from. And then branding the Main Street program. So it's on brand with the Adirondack Frontier, sticking with the same colors and messaging and all of that, and just so it becomes recognizable when people see this image, that they think of our Main Street program, and it just sort of all hopefully clicks for people. And then this is just an example of some of the places and ways that we've used that. You'll see it, I'm pretty sure, on the flyer that Jeremy handed out. There's another flyer. So any grants that we do administer, so one that's right now is Energize Uptown, so we'll be able to incorporate the Main Street program messaging with that also, because it kind of would fall under that umbrella as far as a downtown revitalization grant that we're helping administer. So that's an example of the use of it up in a flyer. It's found, we have a web page. There are window stickers that Rachel really felt like, from interaction she's had, that there's a need and desire for those. So Main Street businesses can kind of proudly display that. And so she's been handing those out. We released a press release, do social media. So it's kind of just an example of ways of the placement of this program. All right, so that was the Main Street program. I'll go through it again, just really quick with the Frontier Facts. So this was something a little bit different, not a program per se, but just an opportunity for us to kind of do that, increasing awareness, again, walking through the 4 kind of components to getting there. So this one was something that Jeremy and I, we just, sat down, brainstormed, came up with a schedule of a weekly kind of way that it could end up in people's inboxes without being boring and redundant, and hopefully it would be something that would be catchy and they want to read and have like a little takeaway. I've found these so fun to write because I've learned like things that I didn't know, but also is a way to, like, it gives me like those little elevator pitches that I'm able to use from writing these emails. But so we have gone through 4 of them, and how we picked them, we just started with the resilient industries, some other topics. Hopefully it continues, maybe we rotate through and just see where it goes, but always open for feedback on if there's something that you see that we're missing that would be worth having a weekly email about with a little fact. So far we've done agriculture, biotech, clean energy, forestry, and wood products, and we just spend some time each week learning about that, writing it, getting the content. Yeah. And again, the imagery, we are really fortunate. We're at this point now where Jordan Craig did drone imagery for us over the past year also. So now when we talk about these resilient industries to match our emails, we have these really high resolution quality photos that are really eye-catching to pull from. And again, this one was just much simpler, just, but it's on brand, frontier fact. Hopefully the narration's like catchy, people think of it, we send them out on Friday, and just kind of with the redundancy, hopefully that sets in for people. And again, just an example of the placements. We have a page on the web page, send it out in an email, press release, for, weekly with these is how they would roll out in the social media. So that's just sort of an example of the places where you can find those. So all of it's great, but like performance, is it really mattering? What does it do? And it's always really hard to measure, right? And especially when we talk about attracting new residents and new employees, and you don't know immediately what your impact is having, or businesses that are maybe in the process of thinking of opening in Franklin County or relocating to Franklin County. But I guess the main takeaway, without getting into too many details of performance, is that everything is increasing. So I did want to show just year over year, the website, just taking January 1 to the end of June, this year over last year, there is the increase, like 80% increase in our website traction. So that's good. Facebook and Instagram, and there's all these different ways that they measure that. It's not just by the number of followers you have, but by the reach that and the interaction that users have, and all sorts of other things. But again, that shows that year over year that is increasing. Emails, we have usually an average of over 5,000 people actually open the Frontier Fact emails. So that's pretty cool that weekly we're getting our brand and just a little piece of information in front of 5,000 people. The Main Street launch, we sent out that press release and over 600 people opened that email. And that's a smaller audience because that was just targeted to just eligible businesses within the county. And then just some statistics on how the Main Street program, and for an example, the Frontier Fact about the wood products and forestry industry performed on social media, and both of them did better than just an average generic post. So it's we're doing good. Yeah.
Any questions?
Yes, one. Do we have a way of tracking where these inquiries are coming from? Just geographic, that's all.
Yes.
Good.
Yep. I can share. Yeah, there's so many different ways that you can
Well, we found
export all sorts of information and drill it right down to some crazy level of detail. And I'd be happy to share that. We do a lot of targeting with this type of thing within the region, right? Because it's sort of building that awareness and education and promotion from within. We haven't done anything, I mean, Jeremy and I've talked about that in the future is like that attraction, and that's more targeted, to certain
Right.
geographic areas and for different business specific needs, but yeah.
My first, this is apocryphal, but my first year as principal at the high school in Tupper Lake was 1970, class of 78. It's my first class. 4 years later, we graduated the largest class in our history, 162 kids in 82. My granddaughter, who was 18, soon to be 19, graduated with 38 classmates this year.
I saw that number and was shocked. Yeah.
Well, it's stopped, and the thing is, Saranac Lake is a little bit more, but still, it's precipitous,
Yes,
and that's,
yeah.
you can do whatever you want with things like that, but I do think that we have to be able to try to put a handle on the people stuff. And Steve, I asked Steve, for example, to talk to, or set us up an appointment with,
President Keegan,
what's his
Joe
name?
Keegan.
Joe Keegan, who's the president of North Country, to talk to him about establishing a workforce program that seems to have started galloping all over the place with partnerships between colleges that offer an associate's degree and people like our BOCES program. Or in other words, okay, you complete your BOCES program in X, we'll give you half a year credit, a year's credit, whatever, towards finishing up a 2-year degree in maybe construction trades, whatever. But that's
do you have like a gut feeling, or what's your reasoning for why the
I
graduation class is so low? Why is school
it's because
enrollment
people
so
left
down?
here.
They
got no
left
jobs.
Because jobs, or
Yeah.
because they can't find
Well,
housing? Is it like there's so much?
Here's a contradiction. I'm sorry. Here's a contradiction. I'm sorry, Steve. I didn't mean to cut you off. Here's a contradiction. A lot of I always deal with my ex-students.
Right.
I got a crew working on my roof right now, all composed of guys that I had in school. One way either taught them or I was principal.
Mhm.
And a couple of them told me the same thing. A guy who contracts in Tupper Lake, he's out 2 years.
Right.
There isn't, we've got to find a happy way to marry up the possibilities with the skills that are available. So somebody from New York City or Pennsylvania or wherever who wants to move here can say, well, geez, if I sell my house for X and property values up there probably going to be, okay, that's fine until they get up here and find out they got to wait 2 years for somebody to come in and redo their house, update their house for them. Madeline, you probably found that out yourself.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, as a person.
You're always
from-
waiting.
Yeah.
Not only that, but it's hard to do business, to be honest with you, in New York State. I mean, you see what just happened in Plattsburgh. It doesn't exactly affect our county, but I mean, there's gonna be a lot of jobs lost with Nova Bus, and a lot of those people live in our county, and they're gonna be looking to go somewhere else. I mean, those were good paying jobs that, people had the rug pulled out from underneath them, and it affects the big area.
Sure. I mean, that's one blip on the radar screen of the total problem.
Yeah.
And the problem, I think, is that, among other things, I know that when I worked at Anka, and I started there in 96, 97, the big rage at that time was work from home. Remember that, Steve? Remember Ed? He just passed away too. He used to work for IBM. Shermer, I think that's.
Sherman, Ed
What's that?
Sherman, just passed.
Yeah.
Right.
He was right on top of it right in the beginning and trying to get us up and running for work from home. You couple that with the fact that the security here is a lot better than New York City. You don't have to worry about people coming in and robbing your house, except occasionally. But anyway, that's the thing that's where we have to go. We got to look at where are our opportunities. I don't want to go through this whole SWAT thing and all that. You don't have to. I think if you did apocryphal stories, listen to Nate, listen to Madeline, people that have moved in here from other places, that's where you're going to find your information.
So if you look at the demographics, we're still, and we may be making a turn, but we really need young young people to move up here who are having kids. And there may be a lag between the time that happens, those kids grow to a point where they're into school and graduating.
That's right.
Class, but certainly.
I mean, take like your daughter, recently married. Geez, if there was a way that those kind of people could be attracted here to work from home, that's great.
Right.
I mean, well, anyway. Makes me crazy.
Well, it's all important,
Yep.
and the work that Kelly is leading the charge on is the only effort that's occurring in Franklin County to promote all of our opportunities and assets.
Right.
And one of the things we've been wanting to do is kind of help you guys connect the dots, because we've come to you with different snapshots, like, you know, we have a contract for this, or you might see a bill for that, and we show you a picture here or there, but we wanted to start giving you some sense of how it's all Kelly's piecing it all together, and it's all kind of we're building a foundation and starting to actually use some of these things we've been working on. And I can say, Kelly says it's fun. I mean, it is fun when we get done with these frontier facts, but sometimes it's a grueling exercise, because we're going back to original language in the SEDS, or that might be on the website. And it's been a really good exercise to update that if necessary and tweak it. I mean, it's really, so, because what we want when it's shared, we want it to be meaningful and accurate and all that kind of stuff. And we found things that we could improve every single week. So there's been that behind the scenes work to make sure it all works. And who knew we had 209 megawatts of clean energy being generated in Franklin County? We knew it was a lot, right? But Kelly's like, how much is it? Like, I have no idea.
It was a stunner.
So we started adding it up.
Just Joe Keegan is very interested in meeting. I did talk to him, and we'd have to come up with a time. He's doing something similar with Essex County at this point. He really wants to see the college be a key player in building the economy of both the counties.
Well, your work is very, very much appreciated. Kelly, thank you, and also the work you're doing. The work itself is a key piece. Thank you.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
We'll be back next week because we've got another
I'm sorry.
project. Go ahead, Archie.
Okay. I have a comment, or it's in the form of a hope. It's really obvious how much work and effort has been put into developing these programs. And that is much appreciated. And it appears that very soon we're going to have 3 very fine office facilities from which to work out of, in Tupper Lake, Saranac Lake, and here in Malone. And I think this sounds like a broken record, I'm sorry, but I hope that when the announcement and launch of these programs, that it is made abundantly clear in big block letters as to where in their community, Saranac Lake, Tupper Lake, and Malone, that these services can be obtained, and where we are. We do, I don't think, a very good job at promoting ourselves, and we have a lot to offer, particularly new businesses and like what they're talking about. I just hope that we brag about ourselves and let people know where to go to get our help.
You're good. Thank you, Arch.
Yep.
Any other comments? If not, we will now move on to resolution 2023-21, unless it's okay. To execute a lease with Union Block Building in Tupper Lake. It's a standard lease, I'm assuming, as I read through the boilerplate.
It's pretty basic. Do you want to get a motion in a second first? And then
Yeah.
I can provide any information or answer
Yeah,
questions.
could we have a motion on resolution 2023-21 to
I'll
accept?
make the motion to Approve resolution to execute the lease on the Union Block building in Tupper Lake.
Second. Thank you, Steve. Second?
I'll second it.
Second, Nate Manette. Now discussion. Sorry.
This was an opportunity that arose, and the timing was perfect because with the rollout of the Energize Uptown Fund, Rachel and I have been talking about how to be available for businesses and property owners. So Archie, this is exactly what you were talking about, right? It would be harder to effectively administer a community development program specifically for Tupper Lake hidden away in an office in Malone. So Rachel has been really excited about this opportunity.
We are too.
She, even though the lease wouldn't be executed until the board approves it, the owner allowed her to use it on Monday and today. She's there Monday, and she's going to be there Monday and Wednesdays for the foreseeable future in Tupper Lake, just to be able to hold office hours, meet with people as they prepare their applications, and then also as the program rolls out and people do projects. So this is a 1-year lease with an opportunity to renew, and one of the, as you might recall, our contract for being a secondary administrator with the Village of Tupper Lake, we have access to administrative funds, and so our intent is to offset some of these costs using those administrative funds.
Very good. Questions? And I'm assuming we're probably gonna wind up putting up a
Yes.
shingle over the door
Yep.
and all.
Kelly and Rachel are already working on
Great.
signage and things like that.
And I think you said that you had already been in contact with the Tupper Lake Free Press and Dan McClellan, or no?
Yes, yeah, they're doing an article tomorrow, and in the Free Press, a press release was also sent out, as Kelly mentioned,
Great.
just for general public and the enterprise also.
Very good. I'm gonna stick this one on Trevor. Trevor, you're picking this up and putting it in the Malone Telegram would be a help. There's got to be some way for us to tie together the news that's coming out of Tupper, Saranac, and Malone. And I'm not a press man. Always enjoyed talking to your father about these kind of things, and it was good conversation. Even if we set up an informal Franklin County Press office, bureau, whatever you want to call it, so that you're able to skim off stories from Tupper, the Free Press, Saranac Lakes Enterprise, and your own, and combine them, or to put in whatever information dealing with the county as a whole. There's a lot of power here. I'm convinced of it. Between agriculture and tourism and woods industry, when you think about all of the things that we have available, it would be just the grandest thing in the world if we were able to put it in the hands of people when they read their local newspapers. So, just a thought.
Sure, you bet. I would say that, newspapers over the years have become a much more sharing economy, but in a kind of unofficial way, right? So we're not really communicating with the Press Republican or the Enterprise. We're kind of picking things up the next day. So I don't know what that looks like moving into the future with the way that local newspapers are and the extreme staffing challenges that we're facing. I mean, I can tell you that I've worked at the Enterprise and the Telegram both over the years, and we are at a quarter, maybe even like a tenth of where staffing levels once were. So, I think that it comes down to really relying on your guys' offices too, to get those press releases out to us that are pretty well formulated and give us a pretty good idea of what's going on, because we do our best, but it's just so hard to be on top of everything. Sure. But I hope that you feel that we are behind you guys and that we want to publish. We really feel like what you guys are doing is great for the county and that we all share the same goals for this community. So anything we can do, I think everybody has I'm very easy to reach. So don't hesitate, I guess I would say.
Well, we appreciate your comments and we appreciate your kudos. Maybe you ought to send that to the county board, but anyway. Sorry.
We don't want to
That's
forget
pretty-
radio and television.
Let's, any further discussion? If not, we'll entertain a motion, or we'll entertain a motion to do a roll call vote, which I think we have to do on this one, Maria.
Okay, this is for 2023-21
Correct.
with Union Block Building. Sherry Boye,
Yes.
James Ellis,
Yes?
Stephen Erman,
Yes.
Madeline Fleury,
Yes.
Archie McKee,
Yes,
Daniel Mills,
Yes.
Nate Manette.
Yes.
Resolution is duly adopted.
Thank you, everybody. Now we'll move on to resolution 2023-22. Submission of ESD not-for-profit capital grant application. Thank you. Go ahead, Jerry.
Want to do a motion
Just-
second first?
Yeah, let's do a motion. Get it on the floor. Motion to approve 2023-22 resolution submission of ESD not-for-profit capital grant application. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Moved by Steve, second.
Second.
Second, Sherry. Go ahead.
Okay, so I provided the board a little bit of background information on this grant opportunity, but just to reiterate a couple things. We had originally hoped to be able to, we had requested funding through Tupper Lake DRI to help with the costs of outfitting an office / co-working space in Tupper Lake, which we did not receive. So that was a blow, that was a challenge to overcome. Empire State Development has a new grant program, just brand new this year, called the Non-for-Profit Capital Grant Program. And we are eligible, and it would be a perfect fit for purchasing of equipment, or it can be used for a variety of capital needs, including equipment and furniture. So between our hopes and needs for Tupper Lake and Malone, we would like to submit an application to ESD for an amount not to exceed $50,000 to help defray the costs of equipment and furniture for these two spaces. There's a 50% match requirement, which this resolution is authorizing us to commit to. But I wanted to point out that between now and when we need to expend these funds, if we are awarded, we will be looking for other sources, whether it's state or private sources of funding, to reduce our actual cash outlay. So don't know what those are, but that's our goal, is to try to, we need to demonstrate that commitment for the grant application, but our intention is to reduce it before we have to make the expenditure.
Right now, we have the money to match it. Obviously, we'll demonstrate that. And then we can
Yes.
go for other money so we don't have to tap into what we are expecting to be the source.
Right, so that, and that time, talking about timeline is important. So this grant is due at the end of this month, and we would anticipate announcements probably in December. And then there would be a contract executed between us and Empire State Development early in 2024, after which we would have 2 years to expend the funds and complete the project. So we don't have to undertake it immediately upon execution of the contract. And quite frankly, what I'm looking at as far as how to describe this in the application is our timing for the two spaces may be different. We may want to take action on space in Malone faster because it's ready, but there's, depending on what we do in Tupper Lake, we don't need to order furniture for something we're not going to immediately occupy.
Right.
And let's say at the end of the day, when we really understand our needs, we only spend 40, we'll get reimbursed 40. We don't have to spend 50. So there's some variables there, and it's hard to come to you with a lot of variables and ask for your commitment, but it's a lot about a timing. It's timing for when this grant is due and what you need to show to be competitive. But over the course of the term, we'll be working to try to find ways to reduce our outlay and time things right. And we'll keep you updated on that as we go forward.
So I have a question. You were applying for grant money to outfit spaces that we've already committed to or not committed to?
We're not committed.
Do you
Yeah.
have to show commitment in order to do these grants?
We need to show the cash, the
Well, I mean, besides
match.
cash, I mean, do you have to show that you have a place that you want to apply these monies to?
I'm going to share the locations as far as Malone and Tupper Lake, but not be specific because it hasn't been committed to by us. So would it be better to say it? Yes, but we just won't know it. So it'll be a little bit more general. I mean,
I
the
think
purpose is
your questions is, per the grant, are we required to have made the commitment? And I think the answer to that is no.
no.
So we don't need to
Well, I'm just,
understand this.
my only concern is, I'm all for getting grant money and all of that. I just have a concern. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it seems very, well, I guess I'll say grand. I don't know. The 2 spaces, I'm pretty sure I know which ones you're talking about.
Basically,
Do we have the means to sustain 3 places is my basic question.
So basically what we're trying to accomplish is we can't answer that question today. Jeremy and I have had that discussion with the amount of staff we have in 3 locations around the
Exactly.
county. That doesn't make logical sense. Can't answer that because we haven't nailed down potential agreements with these locations. So that is going to be up in the air. However, because of the timeline and the requirements of the grant, we don't apply for it, then we're going to miss out. So as Jeremy said, if our total budget is 100,000 equipment, 50,000 from the state, 50,000 match, and we end up not doing one of those locations, and we only end up spending 40,000 in total for equipment, 20,000 from the state, $20,000 match. That's what we'll end up doing. So it just helps position us that should the day come that we do, the board decides to pull the trigger and go with these locations, then we're going to have assistance from the state already lined up. But it does not commit us to that, or does not commit us to spending the full amount of the equipment.
Madeline, honestly, I've been thinking the same thing, especially with how we're promoting working from home and all that stuff, to have these 3 places. I've thought that myself as
It's a
well.
concern.
So, it should be.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's at least twofold is with our staff, can we occupy and take care of and be at 3 places?
Correct.
Right? And then it's just the sheer cost of paying rent and utilities and things like that. So
Internet and
yeah,
all
I
of
mean,
that.
it is a great vision, and we've talked about it for a long time, and there's a lot of things that are actually in place that would help us do it, but we've not yet made all these commitments yet. And it's a good discussion for us to keep having. Absolutely.
And the other thing, I think we have to be adept at being able to pull a change right out of our back pocket if we have to. Example, down in Canton, one of the communities I work with in Anka, they put together a common place, okay? Town and the village government. They hired a common receptionist. They shared a common building. Turn left to go to the town government, turn right to go to the village government. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. And I think we should be able to do the same thing in a way. Tupper Lake Chamber of Commerce is gone. Dan McClellan at the Free Press is trying to, resurrect it. We may very well do the same kind of thing with the Chamber of Commerce. They can't afford a full-time person, but maybe between us and them, we can share the expense of a full-time person just leaving the place open. So somebody can come in, drop something in our box or something in the Chamber of Commerce box. So there's a lot of variations that we can work with. But I think this is important in order for us to stake out a position where we can get some grant money if in case we do go into a physical arrangement in both Malone and Tucker Lake. So
thinking about, I've been working on some of the language and for the grant and trying to articulate what this idea or vision has been for the last few years. And I have two threads that have come out of it. One is it's a really good understanding the board has had of our geographic situation in Franklin County, which is pretty unique. It's the 4th largest county in the state. It's larger than Rhode Island, but there's no central, the county seat is not centrally located. And so you have these 3 population centers. 2 of them are 70 miles away from each other. It's a long ways. And we've learned that, I mean, we knew this, but even with all that Kelly just went over, in our marketing and digital communication and the technology that's out there, nothing replaces having a sign on Main Street in Saranac Lake, because people for the first time in history are actually understanding that our agency exists in Saranac Lake. And people in that physical connection and the relationship building that Rachel is making right now by actually being in Tupper Lake is having a similar benefit in Tupper Lake. So the story is great. The need for it is reinforced. The problem that we've got to solve, and trust me, like Paul and I have been talking about this, Kelly and I talk about it as far as how administering the carry right now that we've got, is if everyone thinks it's a great idea and we want to do it, we should figure out how to do it. But it cannot be left just to our agency and the means that we have available to us right now. So the question going forward is, are there organizations that want to partner with us? For example, the Saranac Lake Chamber is a good partner with us at the carry. And that might be in kind because the staff person is there, or it might be financially. Does the state want to continue to partner? Are there private foundations that want to partner to help us make this a reality? Does the county want to help us financially to help make this a reality? So those are all the questions that we've got to continue working through before we make these commitments. So we share the same concerns because we look at these costs, and Kelly knows how many people are coming through the carry right now and what it's taking to keep that place operating. But it is a good vision. Like, if we can make it work, we should. It's just, it shouldn't be our burden alone.
This ties in a lot with the conversation we just had with Trevor, because at some point in time, and I'm not sure if this is the time or it's slightly off, but at some point there should be a release that talks about this overall goal that we have to place carries basically and have a presence in the key communities in the county. And it's one of those few stories that where we're not just dealing with a specific project in the north and the south and the middle, but we're dealing with the county as a whole and trying to make something fairly big happen. Big in a sense where, you know, if we're going to have people who want to spend some time, maybe they're typically working from home, but they want to spend some time out of the house and working in a congregate, you know, situation, office situation. We have opportunities for that. And I thought the idea of teaming with chambers is a good thing. We have 3 communities with active chambers. I mean, there really is a good story in that. Whether we tell that story now publicly and then face all of these folks, since we don't have leases tied down yet, we face all these folks who are saying, I want them in my building, I want them in my building, we have to deal with all of that. Or we wait until we execute the first lease and have a property tied down, and that may be the lofts of that, perhaps. At that point, then it may be good to be able to lay that all out and have the public at large understand what this is. It's one of those projects we really should brag about, I think, and it raises visibility for that effort. I think it's a good thing.
Well, I think we've been carved out parochially here for years. Malone is Malone, Saranac Lake is Saranac Lake, Tupper Lake is Tupper Lake, and the three of us don't talk to each other. And that's where I think an active press has got to be part of the solution to what we're trying to do. We got to start thinking like a county of 44,000 instead of a village of 3,200.
Right.
So.
So we have a
You have a motion on the floor.
and a second.
Yep. And any further discussion? That's the question.
I did want to say, and I don't know if it was really a question, Steve, or anything, but I think that it's always good to write about the things that are happening rather than the things that might happen or the things that are going to happen in the future. Once that first thing is happening and wheels are turning, then I think it's, but that's really more me talking than certainly my editor. I don't speak for the whole paper, but it's just my perception.
You've been around the block enough, so that what you say is important. So that may be the way to go. We get something in place and it's moving, and then we make that the story. And so we're also talking about this in these other communities, and wherever the first one is.
It's similar to how we always look at anniversaries of things in order to bring them back into the news, whether it's an open mic thing or a music festival or a new business or something like that. What's the impetus for this story at the time,
Good.
These are all good suggestions, and I think we can do something with that. So let's keep talking to each other. You will become a very important part of our meetings, and we appreciate that, Trevor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any further discussion? Do we, by the way, do we send copies of our grant applications off to Billy Jones, our Assemblyman, and Dan Steck, our state senator?
We will, no, we often ask for letters of support, which, but that's it.
Which they pass to somebody in the office.
No, we submit letters of support with the grant application.
Well, what I'm saying is the letter from the person involved is really usually written, oh, okay, here, open a file drawer. Oh, there's one right there. Pull it out. Then he signs at the end of the day with everything else going on. I think we need to designate some people, but some people from here, from this board, to follow up with our elected legislators anytime we have something going on. Okay, so I think that's key.
If we're going to do that, because I've seen that attempted in the past. If that's going to happen, then the staff needs to provide bullet points to be able to share, because what happens is something gets lost in the message from us to the board, from the board to STEC staffers, and then from STEC staffers to him. And if we have bullet sheets, very simple, minimal key points, then that's going to help make sure that the message is received properly, and then they'll have it as a reference point.
Well, whatever it's going to take, it's got to happen. I mean, I can. The railroad's a prime example. 40 years of pushing on somebody's door. I mean, you got to do it. You got to do it. And I don't think that we're any different than any other agency out there that's trying to do the same things we are. This is important to our people. We're important to the 44,000 people in Franklin County. Give us your hand. Give us a hand. So, thank you. Further discussion? If not, I can assume that we're ready for a roll call vote on resolution 2023-21, 22, I'm sorry. Maria, go
Okay,
ahead.
yep. Gary Boye,
Yes.
James Ellis,
Yes,
Stephen Erman,
Yes.
Madeline Fleury,
Yes.
Archie McKee.
Yes.
Dan, can you turn your camera on?
Maybe.
I see him.
Okay, Dan Mills.
quick. Thank you.
Voted. I didn't
Thanks.
hear you. Okay. And Nate Matt.
Yes.
Okay, resolution duly adopted.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Resolution 2023-23, motion to put it on the floor, please. Submission of ESD strategic planning grant application. Motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Nate, second by Steve, to place resolution 2023-23, submission of the ESD grant for planning. Jeremy?
The purpose of this grant is to seek funding to support the update to our 2014 Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. It's been a good document for us. I mean, we largely follow this. I mean, the resilient industries that Kelly referred to were identified in the SEDS. And looking at the feasibility of doing incubator co-working space was a strategy that came out of the SEDS. There's a lot of things that we've focused on based on that document because it was done with the right expertise and the right input from the public and stakeholders back in 2014 that the Maria was very much a part of. She helped put a lot of that together, but it's now dated, and you just mentioned like working from home, and somebody else did too. Like there's a lot of things that have changed since 2014. Our broadband rollout and availability in Franklin County is night and day better. There's certainly gaps still, but it is night and day better than it was in 2014. That's a challenge in 2014 that's less so today. That should be acknowledged. And the world has changed since then. So we've been wanting to do it now for a couple of years, and I think we've got a good game plan of how to do it. We can seek this strategic planning grant application to help pay for it. And then I've also been in contact with the Economic Development Administration, federal agency. They have a similar type program available that you can use to help fund SEDS. And they have a match requirement also, but you can use state funds as part of that match. So the idea is we think it's going to cost about $100,000. I'm waiting to get a proposal back that will help me fine tune what a budget would be and some of the major components of a project. And the goal would be to undertake it in 2024. This is the first grant that is due. The federal grant we would follow up and do in the fall. They don't have a deadline. It's more of a rolling application. And then there still would be a commitment, local share commitment. Probably if we can get both grants, it would still be about 10%, which we could do ourselves, or I've heard from the county that they may be interested in supporting it too. So,
Question, because a lot of these things today are all tying together, and I'm going back to in my head to 40 some odd years ago when I was doing the consulting in DC. The firm that I was with we never did a downtown revitalization study or an overall economic development strategy without having a good chunk of that work focus on organizational development. It's one thing to say, this is what you should be doing, or this is what should be done. It's a whole nother thing saying, how is it going to be done? And one of the problems I think we've had in Franklin County, which has been led us to where we are with the back and forth push-pull with the county in terms of who's on first in terms of economic development, is that I think in the last seds, we talked a lot about here are the key projects that we want, and we never did anything, I don't think. I was on that committee, but I don't recall doing much on here's how this county needs to be set up to do economic development. So I would hope, and this may be a way, if we're going to partner with the county on this, this may be the effort which allows us to pull the County Economic Development Committee and the legislature together with the EDC in advance of that, so we're finally able to get it really nailed down about how we promote this county, what organizations do what the various roles are. And if we get that buy-in when we're going for the grant, and saying this is going to be something, then we're having a consultant come on and do the grant, the consultant's going to know that that's a vital part. We build that in the RFP. I think we put ourselves in a much better position to be able to make the pitch to the county about here's how things should be done, here's what our role is, here's what you have to do, both in terms of any staff you may have and in terms of funding for the EDC. This may be the way in which we get to where we want to be.
Well, so the 2014 sets did, I mean, that was, the goal number one was to expand the economic development capacity in Franklin County, because it was acknowledged then that you can have all these great ideas, but if there's little or no implementation capacity, it's all a waste of effort. And so, and there was some attention paid to that as far as exactly how you could do that.
Okay.
But we've been doing it. I mean, think about where we were in 2017 as an agency. For 6 months, Maria she was the glue that held it all together by herself as a staff person.
Right.
Today we have 5 people doing things across the county, and we've purposefully been trying to expand our ability to achieve that goal of increased capacity. Now, we all know this is the discussion we've had for several months now. How do you keep that how do you maintain that capacity? How do you pay for that capacity, right? That's the fundamental challenge that we've got right now. We've proven our ability to be effective and grow and do all sorts of things, but now it's how do we keep it? I did talk to a consultant about this very issue and said it would be perfect timing to make sure we have that discussion with this update. So that will be built in, just what you asked, will be built into.
Sounds great. Because I'll go back and read the sets, but my sense of it is one thing to say build capacity is a whole other thing to get people who are sitting in the legislature who had to sign off on this to understand that this is what it takes to build that capacity and to maintain that capacity.
Well, and
unless
people
are
change.
really locked into that idea, it would lead us to exactly the situation we're in now.
Yeah.
I
So
think with the county.
I think it's perfect timing for all of what we've been talking about.
Great, that's great.
So the first step, so goal is again 2024 to actually undertake the project. And I don't know how long it takes, 12 months, 18 months, but get it started in 2024. And our goal this year has been to identify the funding sources and able to do it. So this is the first one. Like I said, we'll come back in the fall with the application to the EDA.
Sounds good.
Very good.
Thanks.
Thank you. Further questions? Anyone? Okay, there being no further questions, I'm assuming the motion has been moved. So Maria, go ahead.
Okay, I will let you know Sherry has had to leave for another meeting, so, she is absent at this point. James Ellis,
Yes,
Stephen Erman,
Yes,
Madeline Flurry,
Yes.
Archie McKee,
Yes,
Daniel Mills,
Yes.
and Nate Manette.
Yes.
Okay, resolution duly adopted.
thank you, Maria. Now, there doesn't appear to be any need for an executive session. We'll move to public comment. Any further public comments by anyone?
I did
If
want to,
Oh, go ahead, Trevor, I'm sorry.
oh, yeah. And I mean, this isn't anything that I'm writing about, at least with regard to you guys, but I was wondering if you were aware that there's no Adirondack Trailway currently in Malone. There's no way for anybody to take a bus in or out of Malone. I know that they have to partner with a business or something, but I just thought it might be worth bringing it to your attention. You know, I think about people that might be looking for more entry-level positions in the Malone area. How do they come here? Maybe somebody wanted to come see a board game. Even the people who come to visit at the prisons, you know, if they stop at our convenience stores or our gas stations or our restaurants, that's going to have an impact too. So this thing's been really under the radar, and we've had trouble getting them to communicate with us at all. So just wanted to bring it to your attention, I guess. Not really a question.
there's no stop,
You
nobody.
have to excuse me for a minute, I'll be back, and I have a question, I'm sorry.
Archie? Go ahead.
If somebody wants to visit their son in prison, they get on a bus in New York City, they can't be dropped anywhere in Malone at the prison?
No, and I think that in a lot of cases, they organize that transportation and bring up bus loads in like prison buses. But I think in other cases, a lot of people visit and they stay in a hotel, or I'm really not sure. I'm kind of talking out of my, you know what here. But it just seems like it would have some kind of an impact.
I think it's a huge deal. I wasn't aware.
Well, in Saranac Lake, we have a convenience store, which is where you buy your ticket and you can be dropped off.
Right.
But I wasn't aware that Malone didn't have such a thing.
Yeah, well, they had, it used to happen at the Four Seasons Motel up by the Runnings Plaza, what used to be Kmart, so forth, but that place shut down. I think maybe even got condemned. And since then, I think nobody has partnered with Trailways to, you know, get another station going.
Is the chamber on that issue itself, trying to?
I really don't know. I mean, like I say, I'm not sure who's even aware of this. You know, I think that it, you know, not to be callous, but I think it hits a certain segment of our population that we don't really hear from a lot.
Yeah, interesting.
You're right.
Thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah, thanks, Trevor.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other public comment? If not, we will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Excuse me just a minute. I have a question, and it relates to the loan report that we were provided with, and I don't know if it's appropriate for public session or we need an executive session.
If you want to talk very specifically about a certain loan, then we should probably do an executive session.
Okay, that is the situation.
Okay, then we should do that.
I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing the particulars of a loan.
Let's see, what category would that be?
The personal financial situation of the
Archie,
person.
do you think it's a question that myself or Paul could answer for you offline?
Yes.
Or is there just, okay, then let's do that.
Okay.
If there's no decision to be made, you're just looking for an update or some information, me or Paul can give you a call.
You have it.
Is that okay? Okay.
Thank you. Back to adjournment. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Steve, second?
I'll second it.
Second, Nate. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Next meeting for both the EDC and the IDA will be August 8th,
August 9th.
9th, I'm sorry, 2023.
And they will be here. Say August and September will be here.
Good.